here to tell you something that can get us closer to world peace. And it's going to take all of you to make it happen. I've been a justice advocate all my life and have made service to humanity my profession for the past 30 years. Through intense studying, planning, taking action, and reflecting with hundreds of community members, organizations, and national partners, I've seen and witnessed what takes us closer to peace and what doesn't. And some key elements are how we see each other, how we make decisions, and our character. During my studies, I read The Promise of World Peace, written by the Universal House of Justice in 1985. And it's this beautiful document that gives a clear roadmap on what we're supposed to do as humanity. But there's one sentence in there that has haunted me since the day I read it. And it says, "World peace is inevitable. We will get there through unimaginable horror precipitated by humanity's stubborn clinging to old patterns of behavior. Or if we embrace the act of consultative will. The choice is up to those that inhabit the earth. Unimaginable horror or consultative will. The choice is ours." So what does that mean and what can we do? Because when I look out, I see nothing but suffering in the world. I see violence in the streets and sometimes in our homes. And it looks like we've chosen unimaginable horror with peace nowhere in sight. But the promise of world peace says we can choose differently. So what does that look like? How can we change the trajectory that we're on? Having a consultative will, to me, from my understanding, means that we want to work together and we create a path and move forward together. But in order to make that happen, we have to understand why is it important. So I want to introduce the 3 concepts of oneness to help us understand our interconnectedness. I also want to talk about some divisive topics that can help us embrace our diversity that we encounter every day. The first is the oneness of God. So whether you call this universal spiritual energy, Allah, God, or the divine, we are all referring to the same infinite, unknowable essence that has guided humanity on its spiritual journey. It's like the sun. It doesn't matter what you call it in different languages or where you're standing in the world, it's the same sun warming us all. The way we learn about God is through religion and the holy texts. And the minute we impose harm on others or anything, we are not following God's plan. So this brings me to the second oneness, the oneness of religion. Throughout history, people have actually started wars in the name of religion, when in reality, all the holy texts talk about peace, love, and unity. Like teachers in a school, each messenger of God has brought spiritual teachings and social teachings as the world progressed, and they were appropriate lessons for humanity's stage of development. It's like each holy book is God's larger book. And it starts with Abraham. Abraham tells us, you have a soul. The next one is like, okay, this is how you interact with other souls. And the next one tells us how we function in family units. And then it grows to how are we unified in tribal units, and then city units, and then national units. And now through the writings of Baha'u'llah, religion is telling us how to be a global society and be unified as one global unit. The social teachings are different. They teach us about social customs, dietary things, how we should pray, but the spiritual teachings are all the same. The messengers of God all talk about love, how we should serve each other, how we should be kind and compassionate. And if we truly lived the way our faith proclaimed, we would not see a difference in religion, but we would feel the love that was meant for all of us. Now, this brings us to the third oneness, the oneness of humanity. This one we're really struggling with as a society. Because unlike religion that we just don't talk about in public spaces, we cannot hide the color of our skin, our gender, or mask our accents. Although the Smithsonian Institution says that our DNA of all human beings is 99.9% alike, we use skin color and gender to rank our importance, to elevate or harm, to pardon or punish. And the Universal House of Justice says that racism is the most baneful and persistent evil and is a major barrier to world peace. It also says that once women reach the highest seat in government and has equal power to men, war will cease. We need to think of humanity as one body, and when one part hurts, the others will feel the effects. Poverty in one country impacts the economy of another. Conflict in one region sends refugees across continents. Conflict and damage with the environment in one area impacts global climate. Shoghi Effendi, a global visionary in the 1920s, said, "We are one organic unit. And when one part of the organism suffers, the rest will feel its consequences." There's no such thing as third world or first world. We are one world. And we are witnessing the dangers in real time, believing that we're not interconnected. Once we embrace our oneness, we realize how important it is to come together. I'm ready, and I'm sure some of you are. And there are thousands of businesses and communities across the globe that have adopted this mindset and are implementing consultation as a framework for action. So consultation is a non-adversarial search for truth. It's a framework to create decisions together. It's not a debate, and it's not a conversation. It's everyone coming together for the collective search of truth. So at the table, it shows all of them trying to figure this out. And they're all thinking about, what is this truth? And one person says, "Oh, I saw something about it in a movie. I know, it begins with a T." And the other one says, "Oh, my mother talks about this all the time. The next one is R." And the other ones were, "I had a dream actually about this. And it's you." And the other person is thinking quietly, knows the answer, but stays quiet. Maybe because they're not sure. Or maybe they're in an environment that belittles them and they don't feel valued, so they don't want to share. Whatever the reason, The group is now deprived from realizing their true potential. So imagine if this group were scientists from different continents trying to figure out global change. Imagine if these were family members coming together to figure out hardships financially, and only some are giving answers and others are withholding. Imagine how much information would be unleashed if all of us spoke our existence and what we've learned. There would be so much to contribute to our process together. In order to create a safe space for everyone to share their ideas, their opinions, and their experiences, we need to hold ourselves accountable to spiritual virtues, also known as positive characteristics. So these are the attitudes and mindset that we should have when we enter a room together. We should be truth-seeking. We should be honest. We should be loving and patient and forgiving. We should have a humble posture of learning, accepting everyone's values, lived experiences. This is what's going to unlock all of us coming together and speaking for us to go forward on a pathway of peace. Ineffective qualities are these. And this is what's going to shut the door from people sharing our opinions. So things like leading with our ego, not being transparent, gossiping, competing with one another, not being transparent, and other behaviors that elevate some people and cause harm to the others. Unfortunately, our traditional idea of power embodies a lot of these attributes. And it's our stubborn clinging to old patterns of behavior that's going to keep us on a path of unimaginable horror. So this is what we have to hold our spaces accountable to. This is what we have to figure out how to draw up policies and stop this behavior. Each person we encounter holds hundreds of stories of crisis and victories, cultural knowledge, generational insights, and spiritual solutions. How can we leave people out? How can we debase one another? When someone is in front of us, we should honor them as a noble human being and hope that they share a piece of their greatness with us. And how dare we forget the nobility that God has bestowed upon us. That's how we should see each other, as one unit. The framework for peace isn't complicated. We embrace ourselves as one human family, created from one divine source that communicates through its messengers. Be kind to each other when we're making decisions for the betterment of all. So I stand here today and I beg of you, be courageous in your home, in your school, in your work, places of worship, and your social gatherings, to embrace the banner of oneness and use consultative will. Our lives depend on it, and the earth depends on it. World peace is inevitable, and the choice is yours. The time is now. Thank you.